I never really gave retirement much thought. I always pictured it as this peaceful time in life, slow mornings with a hot cup of coffee, a stack of books, and a quiet house all to myself. After years of working hard, caring for everyone else, and putting my own needs last, I figured this would finally be my time to relax and enjoy life, and at first, I was ready for it. But what I didn't expect was this strange emptiness creeping in so fast. My daughter Ellie has always been my whole world. She's the reason I worked so hard all those years. I made sure she never had to worry about anything. I put her dreams before mine, even when it cost me my own peace. I did it all for her, hoping she'd notice, hoping it meant something to her. It all started last month when I finally retired after decades working in social services. I'd spent years helping families, seeing people walk in and out of my office, and I thought when it was over, I'd feel peace. But there wasn't any, just silence. Not the peaceful kind, but the kind that makes you start doubting everything, every choice, every sacrifice. I remember that first morning after retiring. I woke up early, like always. The house was so still it felt like even the coffee pot was too loud. I sat with my mug, watching the steam curl into the air, and all I could think about was how quiet it had gotten. I should have felt happy, excited even, but something was missing. Something didn't feel right. That day, I waited for Ellie to call, just a quick check-in, nothing big. She didn't. I told myself, she's probably busy, and tried not to let it get to me. But deep down, I started to wonder if I still mattered, if I was still needed. I didn't want to go there. I kept telling myself she'd call soon. She always did. When she finally did call a few days later, her voice felt off, like she was far away, even though we were just talking on the phone. "Mom," she said, "Jason and I found a new place. It's really cozy. We're moving in next week." Then she paused before saying, "And, we've been talking. It's probably time you think about downsizing. Maybe a smaller place, just until you figure things out." I'll never forget how those words hit me like a blast of cold air straight to the heart. Downsize. My own daughter, the one I gave everything for, was suggesting I leave my home, the house where I raised her. I didn't know what to say. I just sat there, frozen, my hand shaking around the phone. I said nothing because I didn't have anything to say. Her words echoed in the silence, and it stung. This wasn't the retirement I had imagined. This wasn't the peaceful future I had earned. But I held on to hope. I told myself it was just a weird moment, a misunderstanding. Things would go back to normal. They had to. But the days that followed felt off, like I was walking through someone else's life. I stood in the same kitchen where Ellie used to run around in her pajamas, giggling and spinning in circles. Now, that same space felt empty. The silence was loud and heavy, like it was pressing in from all sides. I didn't want to admit it, but the space between us was growing. I kept pretending it was just a phase, that she was busy, that this was just how life goes. But each day, without a call, without a visit, made it clearer. Something had changed. Then, one afternoon, the phone rang. I jumped, heart pounding. It was Ellie. I braced myself, and once again, her voice came through tight and serious. "Mom," she said, "Jason and I found the perfect place. We're moving in next week, and I really think it's time we sold the house. It's just too much space for you now. You'd be more comfortable somewhere smaller, like a one-bedroom or something." She said it all so quickly, like ripping off a Band-Aid, but the sting lingered. Was this really happening? Was she seriously asking me to leave the home I had built for us, the home where every wall held a memory? I felt the color drain from my face. I wanted to yell, to cry, to ask her why. Why was she doing this? Why was she pushing me out of the one place that still felt like mine? But I didn't. I swallowed it all down and answered her in the calmest voice I could manage, even though my heart was breaking. "Ellie, what's really going on?" I asked, trying to keep my voice steady. "Why are you doing this?" She didn't hesitate. Her tone was flat, like she was reading from a script. "It's just what's best for us, Mom. Jason and I need to move forward. We've been talking about this for a while. I think it'll be better for everyone." Her words hit me like a heavy blanket thrown over my chest. I could barely breathe. She sounded so confident, so certain, like this was a simple, logical decision. But to me, it felt like she was quietly closing a door I wasn't ready to walk away from. No tears, no hesitation, just ... Goodbye. Without saying the word, I sat there, stunned, trying to make sense of it all. But deep down, I knew her mind was made up. Ellie had chosen a new path, one where I no longer walked beside her. The role I had poured my life into, being her mom, her rock, her everything, was now being passed to someone else, to Jason. I didn't argue. What was the point? Nothing I said would change her mind. In that moment, I wasn't her mom. I was just a piece of the past she didn't know what to do with anymore. A memory, an obligation, and the worst part, she didn't even see it. She didn't understand what she was doing, how deep her words were cutting. That realization broke something in me. I hung up the phone and sat at the kitchen table, staring at nothing, trying to keep the tears from spilling over. But they came anyway, quiet and bitter. This wasn't just about moving or downsizing. It felt like the end of something much bigger. The end of me being needed. The end of the life I had built around her. The days after that call passed in a blur. It felt like I was stuck in a bad dream. The kind where everything's familiar but nothing feels right. I wandered around the house, touching things, remembering everything. The kitchen, with its chipped yellow cabinets, the old counter where Ellie and I used to flip pancakes and laugh about her silly school crushes. It was all still there, but it wasn't the same. It was like the warmth had drained out, leaving only shadows. Sometimes I'd stand by the window, watching cars pass, hoping anything would snap me out of it. Then one day, I heard the front door open. Ellie walked in with Jason behind her. I looked at her face, searching for anything that felt familiar, but her eyes had changed. She didn't look at me the same way anymore. "Hey, Mom," she said, like we were just chatting about the weather. So casual, so distant. I didn't answer right away. "What could I even say?" she continued. "I know, this is tough, but Jason and I were thinking it would be easier if you just, got your own place." Easier? For who? I wanted to scream. I wanted to ask her if she even heard what she was saying. This wasn't a question, it was a decision. One that she had already made. There was no plan, no help, no kindness. In her voice, just a cold expectation that I'd pack up and disappear from their new life. "I'll think about it," I said quietly, trying to keep my voice calm, even as my heart shattered. They left shortly after, walking down the front steps hand in hand. Jason looked back at me once, his face blank, not cruel, not warm, just ... indifferent. And somehow, that hurt the most, that I could disappear, and he wouldn't even flinch. After that, their new life got louder, while mine faded into the background. I'd hear Ellie laughing on the phone, Jason's voice echoing through the house during his visits. They'd cook together in the kitchen where Ellie and I used to share our own little world. Sometimes they'd invite me to join, but it always felt like they were just being polite, like I was a guest in a home I no longer belonged to. And then, one day, I stood in the hallway and watched them unpacking. Jason had bought a big, shiny new couch, one of those oversized ones made for lounging and making new memories. Ellie was glowing, laughing as she fluffed throw pillows and arranged them just the way she liked. She looked so happy, like this was the beginning of something beautiful. And that's when it hit me. This wasn't just about moving out of a house. This was about being left out of a life. Her life, a life she was clearly building without me in it. I stood there frozen, like the air had thickened and I couldn't move. My heart felt heavy, like it suddenly didn't know where it belonged. I wanted to speak, to ask her why she had pushed me so far to the edges of her world. But when I opened my mouth, no words came. Nothing. So I turned quietly and walked back to my room, closing the door behind me, not slamming it, just soft enough to say, "I'm still here," even though I felt like I wasn't. I didn't cry. I couldn't. The tears were buried too deep beneath years of giving, of sacrificing, of always putting myself second. I just sat in the silence, letting it wrap around me like a blanket I didn't ask for. I thought of all the times I'd been her safety net, all the times I'd picked up the broken pieces so she wouldn't have to. And now, I was just another thing to pack up. Something old, something in the way. I thought about calling my sister, maybe just to talk, to not feel so alone. But what would I even say? That my daughter had moved on, and I didn't know how to keep up. That I'd spent my life building a world for her, only to be told it didn't fit anymore. I sat by the window, watching the world go by outside, cars driving, people walking, life continuing. But inside, everything felt paused. I felt like an old chair in the corner still here, but unnoticed, unused, forgotten. That's when it really hit me how quickly Ellie had let go, how fast she and Jason had created this new life where I was barely a footnote. That hurt more than anything. It wasn't the couch, the boxers, or even the talk of moving. It was knowing I wasn't needed anymore. That the place I held in her life had shrunk down to something small and quiet, something easy to leave behind. The days after that visit dragged on, each one feeling longer than the last. I went through the motions, but everything felt distant, like I was walking through someone else's memories, not my own. I'd pass by the kitchen table and see the empty chair across from me, the same one Ellie used to sit in, swinging her legs, talking a mile a minute about school and boys and everything in between. Now it just sat there, still, silent. Then, one afternoon, she came back. But this time, she didn't come in for a chat or to drop something off. There was a new energy about her. She moved with a kind of finality, like she was here to say something she'd already rehearsed. Jason was with her, his hands stuffed in his pockets, avoiding my eyes. "Mom," Ellie started, standing in the middle of the living room. "We really need to talk about the house." My stomach twisted. I knew what was coming, but hearing her say it out loud made it feel painfully real. "I've been talking with Jason," she continued, "and we think it's time to sell. It's just too much for you to take care of on your own. And well, I have my new life to think about now." I could barely breathe. Sell it. Sell the home I had built with every ounce of love and strength I had. She nodded, not even looking up from her phone. "Yeah, it just makes sense. You don't need all this space. Jason and I have already started looking at some new listings. I think it'll be better for everyone if we just move forward." I opened my mouth, but nothing came out. What could I say that would change her mind? Better for everyone, what a cruel phrase. Maybe better for her, better for Jason. But for me, this was everything. This house wasn't just walls and furniture. It was my life, my memories, my sacrifices. It was where I tucked her in, bandaged her knees, cried when she left for college, waited for her to come home. "Ellie," I said, my voice barely steady, "you can't be serious. You're talking about selling our home, your home." She didn't even glance up. "It's just a house, Mom. We can't live here forever. It's time to move on. I'm doing this for both of us, for you too." I wanted to scream. I wanted to beg her to understand, to remember, to feel what I was feeling. But I didn't. I just sat there, letting her words wash over me like cold rain. "You don't need to worry about it," she added, casually, as if offering a band-aid for a broken heart. "We'll take care of everything. You can move into that little place you mentioned." That little place. I had no idea what she was talking about. There was no little place. Just this one, the only one that ever mattered, and now, even that was being taken away. A few weeks ago, I had looked at that house, and I knew it didn't feel like home. It felt cold, like a place where I'd be alone, forgotten. Just another old woman quietly fading into the background. That wasn't the life I wanted. Not yet. Then Jason stepped forward, trying to smile, but it didn't reach his eyes. "Look, Grace, we just want what's best for you. You're not getting any younger. This house is too big. It's just easier if we move on." His words hit me like a slap, sharp, unfeeling. Sure, he was right in a way. The house was too big for one person, but that wasn't the point. The real sting came from Ellie. She'd already made up her mind, hadn't even asked how I felt. I didn't matter anymore. She had Jason now, a new life, a new family, one that didn't include me. "Easier," I said, my voice barely above a whisper. "Easier for who, exactly?" Ellie glanced up at me, just for a second, then looked back down at her phone like I wasn't even there. "For all of us, Mom. It just makes sense," she said. So casually, it broke my heart. I felt the tears start to rise, but I swallowed them back. No more crying. Not for a daughter who couldn't even see me, not the woman who raised her, who gave up everything for her. "Okay," I said, my voice calm, even though everything inside me was shaking. "Okay, you do what you have to, but let's get one thing clear. I'm not going quietly. I won't let you erase me. Not this time." Neither of them said a word. They just left, like it was nothing. I stood there, surrounded by the quiet they left behind. Their words echoed in my ears. They weren't just selling the house, they were selling me. But I wasn't done yet. No matter how hard they tried to push me aside, I wasn't going anywhere. I wasn't just someone's mother or helper or backup plan. I was a person, and it was time I started living like one. The silence after they left was heavy. I wandered through the house, trying to wrap my head around everything Ellie had said. How had it come to this? I used to be her whole world. Now, I was just someone she wanted to move out of the way. I tried to stay busy cleaning, straightening things up, but it all felt strange, like I was walking through someone else's home. Even the sound of my own footsteps felt foreign. I kept walking into rooms and forgetting why I went in. I felt like a ghost. And then I saw an envelope on the kitchen table. No return address. Just one word in Ellie's handwriting. Mom. My heart dropped. I didn't want to open it. I didn't want to know what it said, but my hands opened it anyway. Inside was a short letter, cold, distant. Mom, I know this isn't easy, but Jason and I have decided to go ahead with selling the house. I've included a check for your share. I really think it's time you looked into a smaller place. Let us know what you decide. We're moving forward. Hope you understand. Love, Ellie. I read it again and again. The words blurred. I sat down because my legs felt weak. This wasn't a conversation. This wasn't a phone call. This was a business transaction. A decision made without me. The check, it wasn't a gift. It wasn't kindness. It was just money. A way to tie up loose ends. All those years I stayed up late helping her with homework. All the sacrifices I made, they were just gone, forgotten, replaced, just like me. All those years I spent taking care of her when she was sick, being the glue that held our family together. It all felt like it meant nothing now. Everything I gave her was reduced to a check and a cold little letter. After everything I did, this was her way of dealing with me. A quick fix to make me disappear without any guilt. I wasn't her mother anymore. I was just a problem she wanted to get rid of. That check wasn't love. It wasn't kindness. It was just a number. Way to close the door without ever looking back. I clenched the letter in my hand and crumpled it, tossing it across the room. I couldn't even look at it anymore. I felt so hurt, not just by Ellie, but by the idea of family itself, the one I had held on to for so long. That's when it really hit me. My role in her life had always been about what I could give her. The moment I needed something, I became an inconvenience. Her words echoed in my mind. I hope you can understand. But I didn't. I couldn't. How could she be so cold? How could she forget everything I had done for her? Every bedtime story, every school project, every time I put her needs before mine. She had Jason now, the man who was a stranger to me just months ago. That's who she chose to build her life with. And me, I was out. But I wasn't going to cry. Not this time. I wasn't falling into that same old trap, the one where I give and never ask for anything back. I walked over to the window, staring out at the city below. My old life was gone, just like that. But that didn't mean I was gone. I wasn't just her mother anymore. I was Grace. And it was time I started acting like it. That night, I packed my things slowly, quietly. No drama, no goodbye speeches. No more waiting for a call that would never come. No more hoping Ellie would magically turn back into the daughter I used to know. That version of her was gone. And the woman she had become, she didn't have room for me anymore. And maybe that was okay. Because I didn't need to be needed. I could stand on my own. As I walked out of that house, the one I had poured my heart into for so many years, I looked back one last time. It was just a house now, not my home, not anymore. But I was still standing, and I would build something new for myself. Ellie could have her house. She could have Jason, but she couldn't have me. Not anymore. And for the first time in a long, long time, I felt something stir deep inside me. A spark, a flicker of hope. I wasn't done yet. I had more life to live, more to give. This wasn't the end. This was a beginning. But the quiet can be cruel. After I moved into my tiny apartment, I tried to tell myself it was fine, that I was better off alone. But slowly, the loneliness crept in. Every room felt too empty. The silence was so loud, it felt like it echoed. I used to fill that silence with the noise of family, with Ellie's voice, laughter, life. Now it was just me. Still, I didn't let myself fall apart. I couldn't. I woke up every morning, got dressed, made tea, tried to read in the little living room. It wasn't much, but it was something. Every day, I whispered to myself, just hang on a little longer, you'll get used to it. But deep down, I couldn't shake the feeling that I'd been replaced, tossed aside, forgotten. Then, about a week later, the phone rang. I didn't recognize the number, but something made me pick it up anyway. "Hello," I said, my voice calm even though my heart was racing. "Mom, it's Ellie." Her voice had a shaky edge I hadn't heard in a while. My heart jumped. Was this it? The call I had been hoping for? The one where she apologized and said she'd made a mistake? "Mom, She paused. I could hear Jason in the background, talking quietly. "What is it, Ellie?" I asked gently, trying not to get my hopes up. "Not again." She hesitated. "Jason and we were talking, and we thought maybe you could stay with us for a bit. You know, just until you figure things out. The guest room's ready." A small, dry laugh slipped out before I could stop it. "Stay with you," I said. "You mean, come back to the house?" Her words just hung there, awkward and heavy. I could feel her guilt through the silence. "You don't have to stay forever," she added quickly. "Just for a little while. We just want to make sure you're okay. We've been worried about you." Worried about me. These were the same people who practically pushed me out the door without a second thought. And now, they were worried. She looked tired. Tired in a way that wasn't just about sleep. It was the kind of tired that comes from holding too much in for too long. I didn't say anything at first. Just looked at her, really looked at her. She still had that same look she did when she was a little girl and got caught doing something she knew was wrong. That mix of guilt and fear, hope and pride. "Can we talk?" she repeated, a little more softly this time. I stepped aside, slowly, and she walked in. She sat on the edge of the couch, like she didn't quite belong in the space, like she didn't know where she'll fit anymore. And maybe she didn't. I sat across from her, the silence stretching thin between us. "I'm not here to make excuses," she started. "I know I messed up." I nodded slightly, but I didn't rush to fill the space with reassurances. I let her sit in it, let her feel it. She needed to. She looked down at her hands. "Jason and we've been trying to build something together, and I guess I got so focused on that, I forgot where I came from. I forgot you." I still didn't speak. "I thought I was doing the right thing," she said quietly. "I thought giving you that check, setting you up in your own place, I thought it was practical, responsible, but it wasn't. It was cruel. And I'm sorry, Mom, I really am." Her voice cracked at the end, and for the first time in a long time, I saw the daughter I used to know, the one who used to crawl into bed with me when thunder scared her, the one who used to say I was her best friend. "I know I hurt you," she said. I didn't know how to fix it." I took a deep breath. The words I'd held in for so long started to rise, but I didn't shout. I didn't cry. I just spoke from the place inside me that had been aching. "You didn't just hurt me, Ellie. You erased me. You made decisions about my life without asking. You treated me like a burden. Like I didn't matter." "I know," she whispered. "I was never just your mother. I was a woman with a life before you. A life I put on hold so you could have yours." "I know." "No," I said gently, but firmly. "I don't think you really do, because if you did, you wouldn't have shown up here expecting a conversation to fix everything." She looked up at me then, eyes glassy. "I don't expect you to forgive me today, or ever. I didn't want it to end like that. With a check, with a letter. You deserved better." There it was. The thing I'd needed to hear but never expected. You deserved better. I didn't forgive her. Not then. But something softened. Maybe it was her honesty. Maybe it was the fact that she had shown up without Jason, without a plan, just her, raw and unsure. "You can't undo what's been done," I said. "But you can learn from it." "I want to," she said. We sat there for a while after that. No big speeches, no dramatic embrace. Just two women sitting in the aftermath of a storm, trying to figure out what pieces could be saved and what had to be left behind. She didn't stay long, just long enough to mean it. When she left, she hugged me gently, like she wasn't sure if I'd hug her back. I did, but not for her. For me. And when the door closed behind her, the apartment felt different. Still, quiet, still mine, but lighter. Maybe this wasn't the end after all. Maybe, just maybe, it was the start of something new. The thoughts of her began to soften. They no longer came with that sharp edge of pain or disappointment. Instead, they floated in gently, like memories that had finally accepted their place in the past. Each morning, I woke up to sunlight spilling through the curtains and a silence that felt like mine. I started to fill it with new things, music I hadn't listened to in years, books I'd meant to read, conversations with people who saw me as more than just a role I had filled. I even joined a small art group at the local community center. A few women who met every Thursday evening to paint and drink coffee and talk about everything and nothing. There, I wasn't Grace the mother, or Grace the burden. I was just Grace. That was enough. I learned to sit with myself in those weeks, to breathe in the quiet and not fear it. I stopped flinching when my phone buzzed, stopped waiting for Ellie's name to pop up, and even when it did once or twice, short messages, polite check-ins, I didn't feel the pull to respond, not out of spite, but because I didn't need to anymore. She had her life, I had mine, and finally, that didn't feel like a loss. One evening, I sat on a bench near the edge of the beach, watching the sun slide into the horizon, the waves curling against the sand like a lullaby. The sky was streaked with pink and orange, and the world felt quiet, not just around me, but within me too. And that's when I realized I wasn't healing for Ellie. I wasn't waiting for her to come back. I wasn't even angry anymore. I was healing for me, because I deserved to take up space. I deserved to start over, to dream again, to live a life that wasn't tethered to someone else's needs. And if she ever came back, not to fix things, not to make amends, but to truly see me, might open the door, or I might not. Either way, I would be okay. Because for the first time in a long time, I wasn't living in the shadow of who I used to be. I was Grace, and that was enough. I had let go of the need for her presence. There was still a tenderness in me that I couldn't quite shake. She was my daughter, after all. But this time, I didn't feel small in front of her. I didn't feel like I was waiting for her to say or do the right thing. I was grounded, steady in myself. "Hi," I said simply. She looked up at me, eyes brimming with something I couldn't quite name, regret, maybe, or just the weight of finally understanding. "Can I come in?" she asked, her voice hoarse. I hesitated, just for a second, not out of anger, but out of self-protection. And then, I opened the door wider. She stepped inside slowly, glancing around like she was stepping into unfamiliar territory. And in a way, she was. This space wasn't built around her anymore. It was mine. My walls. My choices. My quiet. "I've been thinking a lot," she said, not sitting down yet, "about what you said, about what I did. And I know I can't undo any of it. I wanted to see you. Not to fix anything. Just to see you." I nodded and motioned for her to sit. She looked older somehow, maybe not in years, but in the way life had softened the edges of her. "Certainty. I know I hurt you," she said, finally looking at me, "and I don't expect you to forget that. I think I needed to fall on my face a bit. I've been so wrapped up in building this life with Jason, in proving I was ready to move on, that I didn't realize what I left behind. I didn't say anything right away. I just listened. And for once, it didn't feel like I needed to fill the silence or smooth the rough edges. I let her words sit where they landed. "I've missed you," she added quietly. "I know," I said. "But I think what we both missed was who we were outside of each other." She looked at me then, really looked, and something passed between us, not quite resolution, but maybe recognition. To women, both growing in their own ways, both learning to let go of old roles. "I'm not asking to come back into your life the same way," Ellie said, "but maybe we can start something new. Not mother and daughter the way we used to be. Just two people learning to know each other again." I smiled. It was small, but real. "That," I said, "sounds like something worth exploring." She stayed for a cup of tea. We didn't talk about the past. We talked about books, and the weather, and a new cafe I'd found tucked behind an art store. And when she left, she hugged me, not the rushed, distracted embrace of a daughter, always on her way somewhere else, but something slower, gentler, grateful. And as the door closed behind her, I didn't feel the weight return. Instead, I felt something else, peace. Not because everything was fixed, but because I had stopped needing it to be. Because I had found myself again, and no matter what happened next, I knew I'd be okay. I was no longer waiting to be chosen. I had chosen myself. And that was the beginning of everything. I was finally ready to face her, even though I had no idea what to expect. "Hi, Mom," she said softly. Her voice was unsure, like she didn't know if she was even welcome. "Can we talk?" I stood there for a second, not sure what to say. I had moved on with my life. I didn't know if I was ready to open that door again, but deep down, I knew this moment had to come, eventually. So, I stepped aside and opened the door a little wider. "Come in," I said quietly. She walked in slowly, like she wasn't sure if she should be there. I led her to the small couch in the corner and motioned for her to sit. I sat across from her, waiting. She didn't say anything. Her hands were clenched tightly in her lap, and she looked different, not like the same girl who had pushed me out of her life just a few months ago. I broke the silence. "What's going on, Ellie? Why are you here?" She took a deep breath, eyes glued to the floor like she was searching for the right words. "I don't know how to say this, but I've been thinking a lot about you, about what happened, about how I hurt you." My heart squeezed, but I kept my face calm. I had come so far since the last time we talked. I wasn't going to let myself slip back into being the one who always got hurt. "I don't need your apology," I said quietly. "I've already moved on, Ellie. I'm living my life now for it the first time in a long time. I'm not waiting for you to come back and fix anything." She looked up then, and I saw something in her eyes. Maybe it was regret, maybe something deeper. "I don't expect you to forgive me," she said. "I know I can't undo what I did. I had to see you. I had to say I'm sorry." I let out a small, bitter laugh without meaning to. "You don't get to just show up now, Ellie. Not after everything. Not after you moved on so easily and replaced me with your new life." Her eyes filled with tears. She quickly wiped them away. "I didn't mean to hurt you," she whispered. "I just didn't know how to fix it. But I get it now. You gave up so much for me, and I treated it like it didn't matter." I watched her, her face full of guilt, but it didn't change what had happened. "You did push me aside," I said. "You took everything I gave you, and then tossed me away when I wasn't useful anymore." She nodded slowly, her voice barely there. "I was selfish. I didn't see it before. I'm sorry for taking you for granted." The words hung in the air between us. I thought about telling her how much it hurt, how I missed the way we used to be, but I couldn't. I wasn't that person anymore. I didn't need an apology to feel okay. "I know you're sorry," I said gently, "but it doesn't change what happened. You made your choices, and I've learned to make mine. I can't go back." She looked down again, her shoulders dropping. "I understand. I just wanted you to know that I see it now. I see what I did, and I'm sorry I didn't really see you, Mom." Her words felt a little empty, but I didn't want to feel angry anymore. I had already spent too long carrying that weight. I was done living for anyone else. "I appreciate that," I said, my voice steady. "But I'm not the same person you left behind. I've learned to stand on my own. I'm not your safety net anymore, not for you, not for anyone." She took a long breath. I could see my words hurt her, but I wasn't going to take them back. "I know," she said. "I don't expect anything. I just wanted to say, I love you, and I always will." I nodded, but my heart didn't ache anymore. I had already given her all the love I had. Now, it was time to give it to myself. "I know," I said, "and I love you too. But it's time to let go, Ellie, for both of us." Then I stood up. She hesitated for a moment, then walked to the door slowly. I didn't follow her. I didn't try to make things okay. I had done that too many times. When the door closed behind her, I felt it something final, something freeing. The past was over, and the old me, the one who had waited and hoped, was gone too. Now, it was just me. And for the first time in a long time, that was enough. Asterisk. I didn't feel alone. I felt whole. I turned back toward the living room, sunlight pouring through the window. It felt like a fresh start, my fresh start, and I was ready for it. The days after Ellie's visit were quiet, but not the kind of quiet that makes you feel lonely. This was a peaceful silence, like a soft, warm blanket wrapping around me. That heavy feeling I'd carried in my chest for so long, it was finally gone. I used to be scared of being alone, afraid it would feel like an empty space inside me, but now, that space was filled with something else, freedom. For years, I had twisted and reshaped myself to fit what other people needed me to be. I gave up pieces of who I was for Ellie, for the family, for their approval. But now, it was just me, just Grace, and for the first time in forever, I could breathe. I wasn't rushing anymore. I didn't have to prove anything to anyone. I could just exist. I could be myself without feeling guilty or ashamed about it. That week, I started sorting through old boxes. I found photos from vacations, birthday cards, Ellie's schoolwork, little bits of a life I'd worked so hard to build. Some of it made me smile, some of it hurt. I packed away a few things I wasn't ready to face yet, others I let go of completely. It wasn't easy, but it felt right. I needed to let go of the past so I could finally move forward. And slowly, I started to feel lighter. Then one evening, as the sun dipped low outside the window, I got a letter. Not a call, not a message, just a plain white envelope with my name written neatly on the front. I recognized the handwriting right away. 'Twas Ellie's. I hadn't expected to hear from her again. I hadn't replied to her last message. I had drawn a line, and I meant it. But still, something told me I needed to read this letter. I opened it slowly, the paper soft in my hands. And then I read, "Mom, I don't really know how to start this, but I just want to say what I couldn't before. I'm sorry, truly sorry. You gave everything for me, and I didn't appreciate it. I didn't understand what love meant, the kind of love you gave me. I've been thinking a lot about us, about how I acted. I was selfish. I didn't see what I was doing to you, and I know I can't undo the past, but I want to try. I don't expect you to forgive me right away. I just hope that, maybe one day, you'll believe that I'm truly sorry. I miss you, Mom. I love you. Love, Ellie." I stared at the letter, feeling my heart twist with both relief and sadness. These were the words I had wanted to hear for so long. But now, they didn't change anything. It was too late. I folded the letter gently and placed it on the table. Ellie meant every word. I could feel that. But the truth was, I didn't need her apology anymore. The person I really needed to forgive was me. I leaned back in my chair, looking around the room. The years of pain, the quiet need for approval, the constant pressure to be everything for everyone not, had all faded. I had moved on. Ellie had her life now, and I had mine, and I wasn't going to give that up. The next morning, I got up early. I put on my favorite comfy clothes and picked up the small suitcase I had packed days before. I had planned this for weeks, but now, it was real. This was my moment. I had booked a one-way ticket, a new place, a fresh beginning. No more waiting, no more hoping for things to change. As I boarded the plane, a calm washed over me. I wasn't running away. I wasn't trying to erase the past. I was stepping into a future I had always dreamed about but never felt brave enough to chase. Until now. The flight was long, but I didn't mind. My mind wandered, thinking about all the places I would go, the things I might do. The world felt big again, full of possibility. When I landed, I didn't feel scared. I felt free. Free to make my own choices. Free to live for myself. I walked out of the airport just as the sun was setting. I took a deep breath and smiled. For the first time in years, I felt like I was exactly where I was meant to be. This wasn't the end of the story. It was just the beginning. And I was finally, simply, Grace. And that was more than enough.